Hi, my name is Braaaaaad Breeeck, and today I would like to talk to you about the Star vs. the Forces of Evil theme song. I made this theme song a long time ago, and my computer crashed and I lost the original files. Boo! But thanks to the kind people at the music department at Disney TV Animation, I was able to procure the stems for the theme song. So I'll go through and show you all the instruments and how I recorded them, talk a little bit about how I wrote the song and came up with some of the ideas. Anyways, I hope you enjoy it. Thanks. Okay, here we are inside a session for the Star vs. the Forces of Evil theme song. Let's start with the drums. These drums are me actually playing. It's just a kick and snare loop, and it's really static. I think maybe what I did was I played the drums, the kick and the snare separately, sampled them, processed them and then sampled them, and then pasted the samples in. And these drums were recorded in just a small bedroom in my house, a couple cheap mics and nothing fancy, and the drums are probably pretty crappy too. Here's what those drums sound like. So it's just it's just that same pattern through most of the song till the end. It's just a simple loop. Tambourine comes in here. I don't have the tambourine separately, but that would have just been me playing the tambourine into a microphone. So then at the end, the pattern changes. That's pretty much it for the drums. Pretty simple. Next, let's do the bass. So the bass is, as you'll hear, is a combination of a DI electric bass and a synth. The bass this is my first bass guitar. Fender Precision bass, very precise. I've never changed the strings on this bass, because why bother? Sounds cool. In the beginning, the synth bass and the electric bass come in together. Here's what that sounds like. And they're playing the same part. So the synth bass, I'm pretty sure was a Univox Mini Korg or a Mini Korg K2, which is a really early analog synthesizer made by Univox, which I think became Korg or something. I'm not sure exactly, but it's from the 70s. The sound has a really distinct flavor that I really like. I think that was one of my only synths when I made this, but I like to use it on bass. Sometimes it can be a bad idea to layer two different kinds of basses on top of each other because it gets kind of muddy. And this is kind of muddy, but I think it works okay. The synth bass is kind of adding some buzz and aggression, synthy fun to the electric bass. In the second part, the electric bass plays on its own. Here's what that sounds like. And then the synth bass comes in again. And your classic bass slide at the end. So that's the bass. Pretty simple. What will we listen to next? Let's listen to the guitar. This guitar, for a little bit of trivia, is the same acoustic guitar that I played for the Gravity Falls theme, because I did this theme not too long after I did the Gravity Falls theme, and it's the only acoustic guitar I had. And it was some old Yamaha acoustic guitar, FG something, I don't know. Anyways, I gave this guitar as a gift to Alex at the end of Gravity Falls, so I no longer have this guitar. Alex Hirsch has it. But here's what that guitar sounds like. So fast rhythm acoustic guitar part, pretty simple. I play this kind of part a lot because it's one of the few things I can do on a guitar. There you go. That's the acoustic guitar. Next, let's listen to the synths. I think the synths are kind of the most interesting part of this thing and the thing that gives it the most character, I think. The synths for this were all Roland Jupiter 6. That was, I think, the only, besides the mini Korg, the only other synth I had at the time. So I did everything with it. It's a really fun synth. It has an arpeggiator. It's not great for bass, but for like lead lines, arpeggios, and sequences, and pads, and weird sounds, it's great. It can do a lot of different stuff. Some people say it has kind of a thin sound. I don't know. I really like the way it sounds. So let's hear the beginning part. I'm pretty sure what I did there was I would have played those little kind of, I don't know what you call them, little flicky ostinato things, and then cut them together. Yeah, I don't remember how I came up with that part. I mean, that's kind of like the most characteristic, like it's like a sound logo for this thing, this theme song. When I'm trying to figure out one of these theme songs, I'm kind of just throwing all kinds of ideas at the wall, trying to get something that sparks an idea and kind of pushes me forward into finishing the idea. So I was probably just playing around with the Jupiter 6 and stumbled on this little idea and chopped it together. A lot of times, like playing a bunch of sounds and then chopping them together in a sequence that you wouldn't have naturally played can lead you to an idea that's more interesting than something you would like play in real time. And I think that's what happened here. And there's more than one layer in there. There's like a harmony. I can't remember if I played those harmonies or layered them, but it is harmonized. All right, so then moving forward. Just really simple chords. Then this next part is, I'm using the arpeggiator on the Jupiter 6. I have multiple arpeggios kind of like overlapped here, and they're like in different stages of their arpeggiation, so it creates this off, like mismatched terraced effect, which is just kind of fun because one is going up while the other one's going down. I think there might be one on the left, one on the right, and one in the middle, but I don't remember exactly. But here's what that sounds like by itself. So yeah, so I think there are three parts. There's a lower part and there's two higher parts that I think are on the outside. And then the chopped up part. So I think what I did here was I just took some of my arpeggiations and chopped them into these little bits to just create like a new part. You know, I did this arpeggiator arpeggio part, and I was probably like, okay, I can't just keep doing that forever because that'll get boring. So let me just chop some stuff up here to create a new interesting part. In a short piece like this, which this is what, 45 seconds or something? I'm always trying to cram as much information in as possible. Every couple bars there should be a change and some new thing happening to pull the listener's attention through the theme song. Like a cartoon theme song should just be super interesting and fun from start to finish, and if it's just static and the same thing the whole time, it's not that exciting. So yeah, I chopped up the synth there to try to create more interest. And then here is the last part. So then I think this is the same arpeggiator from here without the kind of lower middle line. Yeah, so that's just the higher register arpeggiations from this main arpeggio part. So that's those main synths. Classic Jupiter 6 action. Okay, here's the synth lead part. This is also the Jupiter 6. Let's hear what it sounds like. So that's, it's like a classic like synth lead with a little bit of portamento. And I'm using there's like an LFO button on the Jupiter 6, so you can just like momentarily turn on and off the LFO 2 on the Jupiter 6, which is a fun way to just do that little like vibrato thing at the end. It's really expressive. It's just like a really fun synthy thing. Here's that lead part continuing. Yeah, more, it gets a little theremin-y there at the end. Okay, vocals. Here are the vocals for this song. These vocals are me singing, and I've doubled my vocal, which I always tend to do just out of habit, and because I'm a little insecure about my vocal. You can hear a little bit of reverb on them and a little bit of maybe a little slap delay or something, but they're not super processed vocals. I don't know, I probably had autotune on them, but I don't know. But here's what the vocals sound like by themselves.
It's gonna get a little weird, gonna get a little wild. I ain't from round here, I'm from another dimension. Gonna get a little weird, gonna have a good time. I ain't from round here, I'm from another. Woo-hoo! Yeah! I'm talking rainbows, I'm talking puppies. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. It's gonna get a little weird, gonna get a little wild. I ain't from round here, I'm from another dimension.
So yeah, the harmonies definitely have some auto-tune on them.
I'm talking rainbows, I'm talking puppies. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
And you can hear like the harmonies aren't super great. There's some notes that kind of rub. There's some notes that aren't quite right. You know, I'm still not super happy with the way my vocals sound. Like, I think I kind of thought they would replace my vocals with someone else's. And I did other versions of this. I don't have them here, where I treated my voice a little more and mixed it a little more. And they just preferred this original, like kind of the rawness of this original version. So, you know, you try to improve something and make it better and polish it. It doesn't always actually make it better because you maybe sacrifice some of the energy of that thing. Perfection can be really boring. I think leaving some rough edges in something like this and just getting the energy right is fine and can be better sometimes than something that's totally polished and perfect. For this song, I don't have the brief anymore. Like they give you a document that they tell you about the show. They give you some art from the show. Maybe they'll give you a script. They usually, in this stage, they don't always have animation or a finished episode. They'll give you like a document that tells you kind of like some songs that they like, that they'd like you to reference, or just in the kind of ballpark of what they want. Sometimes they'll give you lyric ideas, but not all the time. And this one, I don't think they give us any lyric ideas. I don't remember, but I think I just kind of had a general idea of the show and the art and like the Bible of the show, which is kind of like describes the show. I do remember one of the songs they referenced was Space Unicorn by Perry Grip, which is an awesome song if you don't know that one. And I remember getting stuck for a while because that song is so awesome. I just kept thinking about how my song was not as good as that song. And that will happen to me a lot. And it's something that like I struggle with a lot. Like last night I was listening to something that I'm working on and listening to my mix of it and comparing it to a song that of the same genre that had been released, and really being bummed out. It kind of ruined my night thinking about how my song was not sounding as good as that song yet. And like I just done a rough mix, like the song's not even done at all. It's like, so it's tough to not put yourself through that kind of psychological torture as you're writing something. It's like it's not even done yet and I'm criticizing it and comparing it to something that's finished. So I guess I'm just saying, like, as you're working on something, don't be too critical of it. It doesn't have to sound, whatever your reference is, like whatever your favorite song is that you think is the best song in the world, it's okay if your thing doesn't sound like that. If it sounds like itself and the thing that it is cool, then that's awesome. Like your thing sounds cool to you, it'll probably sound cool to someone else. But so I would have just sat down and played an instrument. In this case, I feel like I probably started with that drum loop because I wanted to get that energy. And then I probably like played the bass and sang and just kept singing until I found, like, you kind of stumble into words that seem like they fit and keep improvising and working until you start to build up little components that you can put together. The lyrics kind of come, it's kind of like free association association, it kind of builds on itself. When you get one like good lyric, that kind of suggests the next lyric sometimes. But writing lyrics for these kind of things can be really difficult because you're really, in some ways, like it's like shooting in the dark. Like you don't know what exactly they're looking for. It can be tricky to nail the tone of a show you haven't seen, trying to guess what the showrunner likes and doesn't like. You need to describe the show, but you don't want to be too on the nose like Gilligan's Island, where it's, you know, it's kind of corny, where you're describing exactly the show. You want to, like in this one, I feel like we're kind of encapsulating Star and her vibe and a little bit about her story, but not specifically. We're not saying exactly what's up with her. It's just like kind of a fun vibe. Maybe we're getting a little insight into who she is through these lyrics. Even though me, as a writer, I don't actually know a lot about her yet because I haven't seen any of the episodes or anything. Anyways, I don't know if that's helpful. It's a lot of rambling about how I kind of think about this stuff as I'm working through it. I'll play you the whole theme song with no vocals so you can just get a sense of the instrumental. And I'll post the stems for this too so you can do this on your own, but I'll play it here. And one of the challenging things with building a theme song or any piece of music is just figuring out the structure. Often when I'm starting to write, you know, it's kind of a loop, like the drums are looping and I'm singing over it, and it's just kind of a static texture. You know, you kind of can get attached to that texture and you're like, this sounds good. Like I can't do anything to mess with this, right? But it takes discipline to be like, okay, this has to stop here. I need to create sections, right? So forcing yourself to like stop a part and start a new part can sometimes be like, for me, it can be challenging because it's like you're breaking out of your comfort zone and moving on to the next section. Kind of forcing yourself to make sections can be a really helpful thing when you're trying to work through a project like this. And this thing has what, kind of like 3 parts. We got our beginning part. That's our beginning part, and then we got this middle part, which is kind of like a solo. The vocals come back, and then we got this end part, like our breakdown part. So yeah, so this thing it's like a 3-part theme song with an intro and an outro. But anyway, that's the Star verse, the Forces of Evil theme song. Pretty simple song, only a few parts. Hopefully this was helpful. So that is the Star versus the Forces of Evil theme song. I hope that was helpful and enjoyable, and I hope you learned something along the way. If you have any questions about things I didn't cover, please post them below and I'll do my best to respond. Please subscribe and like and all that YouTube stuff. I'll keep posting as much stuff as I can, even though I have many projects that are occupying my time. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for being my friend. I'll talk to you next time. Bye!